I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. Welcome to another Mail Call Mondays, and we've got a lot going on here, as you can see by the stuff set across the workbench in front of me, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Let's get to some questions first. The first question we have this week comes from Michael, and Michael asks, what are your thoughts on using IDPA and Steel Challenge as a form of practice and training versus taking structured classes? Well, Michael, that's an excellent question because what I see is that IDPA matches or Steel Challenge matches or USPSA or any of the other shooting disciplines are generally going to be less expensive for you to go and shoot a match than it would be for you to go and actually take a structured class. Now there are pros and cons to both. Structured classes are really where you learn skills, and competition is really where you push your limits. You're going as fast and as hard as you possibly can because you want to win. In classes, you kind of dial it back a bit because you need to get the skills down, you need to get that repetition down in that structured environment where you have a coach to be able to tell you, okay, this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing wrong, so that you can then take those skills home and practice them time and time again until you get to the point where you can push your limits. Now the benefits of a structured class is that you're usually going into it with an instructor who's got some experience in the subject matter, hopefully, and has a real-world grounding and can tell you what is going to be beneficial to you and what's not. Maybe able to give you an idea of what's going to happen to you in a high-stress environment, that kind of thing. And then they can give you some techniques that are going to work for you, and then maybe able to take some of those techniques and modify them for your particular skill set, your particular situation, or your particular handicaps. Not all of us are built the same, not all of us have the same end result in mind, so it's helpful to have a skilled person to be able to tailor that stuff for you. When you go into a competition, like for instance an IDPA competition, there the techniques are bound by the rule book. So some things that you would maybe do in a real-world defensive shooting situation might get you a procedural in an IDPA match. And for those of you that don't know, procedural is a points penalty assigned to you for breaking the rules. The IDPA rules have changed since the last time I was competitive in IDPA, and I actually stopped shooting IDPA because to train for an IDPA match would cause me to do things that I would not do in a gunfight. And that, when I sat down and thought about it, it's more important to me to be proficient on the street than it is to be able to take home an IDPA trophy. So that's just my view on it. That's not taking anything against IDPA as a sport, but IDPA has started to move further and further away from that defensive pistol craft into more of a game. So you have to really be careful about that when you're using any kind of sport as training for real-world defensive situations. Now, one thing that it absolutely will do for you is increase your gun handling skills. Being able to reload on the clock, being able to draw, get your sight alignment, get your sight picture, your trigger control, all that stuff competition is excellent for because it ingrains a little bit of stress in you that maybe isn't even present in a structured class. Now, some structured classes, when you get beyond the basic safety classes, they'll start to put you into slightly stressful situations. They'll put you on the clock, they'll make you move, that kind of stuff to induce a little bit of that artificial stress. When you are competing, if you are really a competitive person, then a lot of times that will be a higher level of stress than you would see in a class. So there are pros and cons to both, but make sure you keep your end goal in mind when you go and shoot. There were times when I'd go and shoot an IDPA stage and I would take a procedural because I did on the stage what I would do on the street. Things like reloading on the move. At the time, reloading on the move was against the rules for IDPA, and it didn't make any sense for me if my magazine ran dry to go back to cover and reload. It made more sense to me to reload while I was moving to cover. So little things like that kind of irritated me about the game aspect of it versus the real world defensive side. Anymore, what I mainly participate in as far as handgun sports is Steel Challenge, because there really aren't any tactics involved in Steel Challenge. You just stand in a box when the buzzer goes off, you skin leather and shoot steel as quickly as you possibly can. So the rules are very small in Steel Challenge compared to IDPA. So that's more enjoyable to me because I don't have to try to switch gears in my brain and say, okay, I'm not going to use street tactics now, I'm going to use game tactics. I can just go have fun, talk amongst my friends, and burn a whole lot of ammo, a whole lot more during a Steel Challenge match than I would during an equivalently long or an equally long IDPA match. So that's my view on competition versus structured matches. I'd love to hear what your opinion, though, is. Do you compete? Do you think competition like IDPA or Steel Challenge or USPSA is good training or good practice? Please go ahead and leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on it. Our next question comes from Mr. MapX 2010. He says, thoughts on best bang for the buck red dot / holographic sights for a defensive rifle? Well, I've actually been using a Vortex Strike-Fire 2 on my practice rifle, and there are a couple of reasons for it. One is Vortex was nice enough to send that out to us, and we're getting ready to break the long-term review on that sight because it has thousands of rounds underneath it now with nary a problem. And the other benefit to me is that sight, for a very low price point, mimics the sight picture and the controls of the sight that's on my duty rifle, which is an Aimpoint Comp M2. Now the Comp M2 is definitely an expensive sight, although they have backed that off, and they have a cheaper patrol rifle oriented version of that original Comp M2 now available through Aimpoint, which is a great deal. But staying on the really right on that budget line versus usability, the Strike-Fire 2 is a great option. It's a full-size red dot sight, so you get a much larger field of view through the optic, which I like. It gives me a little bit more situational awareness through it. I find it a little quicker to transition between targets with a full-size red dot sight versus one of the mini red dot sights. And the price point on it is very, very reasonable. It has things like auto off. Now the Strike-Fire 2 that we have only has the red option. It's not the red-green option. I don't see really the need to switch between red and green. I think just a plain red dot is fine, and it's simpler to operate the controls. I like the fact that it has an auto off, so if I throw it in the gun bag and forget about it while it's sitting here for maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I grab that rifle out again, then I don't have to worry about it killing the battery. The adjustments are exactly the same as the Aimpoint as far as the turrets are concerned. So really it's a great option. When I pull it out of the bag and deploy it, the pop-up caps work the same as the caps on my Aimpoint. So all the motions are the same between that and my Aimpoint. Now, we just got in a new sight here. This is the Spark AR. So for those of you that like the smaller, like Aimpoint T1 pattern sights, this may be a great budget option for that. What really attracted me to this sight is a couple of things. One is it has the integrated AR mount into it. So this is designed for an AR height system. So if you're trying to put this on a shotgun or something, depending on your stock setup, it may not work. For that, you may want to go to the regular Spark. But Spark AR is already set up for AR mounting height systems. It also has an additional mounting plate in it, so if you want to go with absolute co-witness, you use it without the mounting plate. You add a spacer plate in it if you want to go to 1/3 co-witness with your iron sights. I thought that was really cool. It comes with a rubberized cover with flip-up caps, which once we actually get it on the rifle and start using it, we'll see how well the flip caps work. They're a little bit more of a fiddly design than your standard spring flip-up caps because you have to flip the caps open and then snap them back to themselves to secure them. So it's not exactly a one-handed operation. But we'll see how well they work if you just pop the caps off if they stay out of the way. The really cool feature on this is you don't have to worry about keeping any kind of funky batteries in stock because it runs on a regular AAA battery. My Ear Pro runs on 2 AAAs, so I normally keep AAAs in the bag. My Kestrel runs on AAAs, so I always have AAAs in my bag. That way, you know, if the battery in the sight goes dead, I just grab a battery out of my range bag. I don't have to worry about finding a CR2032 or a N battery or any of that crazy stuff. So that was kind of cool. I wish it went with AA's because out in the wild, AA's are a little bit more plentiful than AA's, but that's quite all right. I'll take the AA's over crazy coin batteries or some odd size. So as you can see, it's in the box. We just picked it up. So we'll get it on the rifle and run it a bit and see how well this will work. But you really can't argue with the price point on these optics. They're fairly low. They are from a company that you know is going to be around for a while. Vortex has a great warranty and great customer service. So if you have any problems with it, you don't have to worry about, am I going to be able to get this thing fixed? Am I going to be able to get it replaced? Plus, the great added benefit is there's a really good possibility with Vortex's quality that you're not ever going to have a problem with it. The Strikefire 2 that we've been running, it's been bounced on the ground, bounced around on the trunk, it's been soaking wet, and I said it's had thousands of rounds underneath it through our training AR, and really haven't had any problems with it at all. So I can definitely recommend the Strikefire 2 as a great option for a low-cost patrol rifle or a low-cost range plinking rifle. So check those out, and as soon as we get some time on the Spark AR, we'll get back to you on that. Our next question comes from SKHMT, and he says, if you had to make a lightweight bolt action for a mix of hunting, precision rifle competition, plinking, and varmint control, from ranges of 100 meters to 800 meters, what caliber and components would you use? I was thinking 6.5 millimeter of some variety, a Defiance Action Proof Research barrel at 20 inches, and an MDT LSS XL. But I haven't used any of those personally. Your thoughts? Well, it's kind of wide open, and a lot of this stuff is going to be personal preference. If you're trying to stay lightweight and you're really wanting to do a mix of activities like that, then the proof barrel I think is a great option. I think I would go, if you're going to stick with a 6.5, I think I would go with a little bit longer. I go with 24 inches. Field handling, if you're not doing urban type stuff or working inside of a car, 24-inch barrel is fine for competition and plinking. It's probably going to be just fine for varmint shooting. And unless you're hunting in really heavy brush, then the 24-inch barrel really is not going to cause you problems there. I did a lot of walking through the woods with a 24-inch barreled rifle and really didn't see many problems with it. Now the action, you know, that's wide open. Pick whatever action you want. I don't have any personal experience with the Defiance, but you know, I hear good things about them. We've got some other actions. We may be getting an Ultimatum Defense action that's a brand new one out there that is a Remington 700 pattern, but it is a 60-degree bolt throw and a 3-lug face or a 3-lug bolt head on it. So I'll be interested to get that in and take a look at that. But I would be tempted maybe even just to go with a standard Remington action because they are relatively lightweight, they're cheap, they're simple. But if you want to go for a top-end action like a Defiance or a Stiller or something like that, or a Surgeon, then you're going to be good to go there. Now on the proof barrel, carbon fiber barrels are absolutely lighter weight for the same amount of rigidity that you would get with a standard steel barrel, but that rigidity comes with a cost. With a 6.5, and for your purposes, I'd say a 260 Remington or a 6.5 Creedmoor would probably be a good option. You're going to run into that reduced barrel life. And that reduced barrel life means you're going to be ponying up that, you know, $800 for a new blank a little bit more often than you would if you were running a something like a 30 caliber, a 308, etc. When you look at that, you know, the blank is almost 3 times as expensive as a comparative steel blank from a premium barrel manufacturer. So I would really think long and hard about going with a proof barrel on anything that's going to burn out relatively quickly. Now, if you're not concerned about that replacement cost, then absolutely I would say go with the proof. If you're more concerned about the weight than the cost. The proof barrel that we have had has been an absolute laser. I love shooting the thing, and it adds a really nice balance to the rifle because it takes all that weight off the front of the gun, brings it back more towards the center. So the proof barrel, as long as the cost is to your liking, it's acceptable in your budget, then I would say go for it. Now the stock, the LSS XL chassis, is a great chassis. It works well. For tactical rifle shooting, for that kind of stuff, then you're going to be fine with it. Anything that you're shooting on the ground or on a bench off a bipod, you're going to be fine with it. Where I think you're going to start to run into problems is where you're carrying it for long amounts of time out hunting. Because there, again, the LSS is an aluminum chassis section, and AR buttstock and AR pistol grip. How it's going to feel to you is going to depend upon what buttstock and pistol grip you put on there, and the sky's the limit as far as that. So you could put something like a Luthar on there, which will give you relatively lightweight compared to like a PRS, and it'll still give you a good adjustable comb, good length of pull, and it will feel decent. Pistol grips, whatever you want. But that fore-end section, I don't think that's going to be real comfortable carrying for long periods of time. So if it's going to lean more towards a rifle that you're going to carry a lot for hunting scenarios, then I would tend to lean more towards a standard stock like the Bell & Carlson that we have here on the 700 long range, or something like a Macmillan, or this is a Grayboe stock that we just got in, a Grayboe Renegade. So something that is more along the lines of a standard stock is going to be more comfortable for you for carrying all over hill and dale. Now, if you really want to go lightweight on it, like you were talking about the proof barrel, then you can go with one of Macmillan or Manner's carbon fiber options, and you can really cut a lot of weight out of there and maintain the rigidity, maintain the strength and the durability of the stock. So those are some options. It's really going to be a personal preference kind of thing. I generally don't try to build up rifles that will do it all anymore. I thankfully am in a position where I can have different rifles for different things that I need to do, different applications. But if you're trying to build one rifle to do it all, then you really have to stop and think about what you're going to do the most. Are you going to be more of a competition shooter or more of a hunter? So think about that when you're weighing out which direction that goes. So hopefully that's giving you some ideas and a differing viewpoint to look at what you're planning on doing. But please let me know how it turns out. I'm really interested to hear how your build is going to work out for you. Now let's talk about some of the stuff we have scattered across the table here. First, we'll talk about this guy, and as I mentioned, this is a Grayboe Renegade. Now, Grayboe is a new company. They kind of are a branch off from Macmillan. They are licensed to use the Macmillan designs, but they are putting them together in a slightly different construction technique. And we'll talk about the Grayboe construction a little bit when we get into the actual review of this stock. We will be doing a full review sometime soon. Now, the neat thing about the Grayboe stocks, though, is you get all the ergonomics of the Macmillan A5 stock, but you get it at a much, much lower price point. They did sacrifice a little bit on the construction. I shouldn't say sacrifice. They used a different type of construction. You're not getting the hand-laid fiberglass that you got with the Macmillan stocks. They're using a different composite construction here. But once we get it on the rifle and actually get some shooting done with it, we'll see if the accuracy and durability is on par with the Macmillan stocks. I'm a big fan of Macmillan stocks. We've got 2 of them in right now. Of course, we have the HTG that's been beaten around and all over the world on the M40A1. And then we have the A35 that has been on my competition 308 rifle, my 308 limited rifle, and absolutely love the shape and the feel of the McMillan stocks. But the Grayboe stocks, since they are a consistent compound all the way through, we're going to see how well they hold up and how well the durability is. The price point is definitely nice. The construction technique should allow them to get these stocks out a little bit quicker. So you should be able to get your stock a whole lot faster than the lead time that was required for a McMillan stock. And we're just really curious to see how well it works. Now, the stock kind of leads in to this guy that I've got sitting behind me. When we initially got the Grayboe press release and I contacted them and said, hey, we'd love to get a stock in to take a look at and review, I requested a short action stock. Now, currently, the Grayboes, because they're trying to get them out quickly, they are only available in a limited number of inlet patterns, and they don't have a wide variety of magazine systems, so we asked for a regular BDL, but we asked for a Remington 700 short action because we have a ton of 700 short actions around here. When the stock showed up, I was happy to grab it, and I grabbed a floor plate, a BDL floor plate out of the parts drawer here, and tossed it in just to see how close the inlet is, because the McMillan inlets are very nice. I want to see how close the Grayboe inlets were cut, and I noticed the action screw holes didn't line up. It took me about half a second to realize that they had sent me a long action stock. Well, that posed a little bit of a problem because we don't have any long action rifles here at this time. So I did a little thinking, tried to figure out how we were going to address this problem, talked to a bunch of my friends in this area, and quite a few of them have long action rifles, but some of them are glass bedded into the chassis and they don't really want them broken apart. Some of them are in various different calibers that I didn't have on hand. Well, for a different project that didn't actually work out, Black Hills was nice enough to send us quite a bit of 300 Win Mag. So I knew I needed a long action in 300 Win Mag. So we ended up doing a little research and biting the bullet and picked up one of these guys. This is a Remington 700 long range in 300 Win Mag. So of course it is a long action receiver. It comes with a Remington varmint weight barrel, and it comes with this nice Bell & Carlson M40 stock. So overall, it looked to be a really nice package. The one thing I dislike, of course, is it is a BDL floor plate, which I don't really like top loaders. Those are one of those things that's kind of going about the wayside. If you're doing hunting, a top loader absolutely is fine. If you're doing anything that's only going to require a couple of shots and then you have plenty of time, then top loaders are fine. But for competition and on the clock, top loaders cause a whole lot of problems, especially when you only have a 3-round magazine, which the 300 Win Mag BDL does. So that means I can start a stage, possibly, depending upon the rules, with 4 rounds in the gun, and then have to single load after that. So I wasn't hot on the BDL, but overall the specs on this rifle look to be absolutely fantastic. And this is a sub $800 rifle that should be able to reach out to a mile without really any problem at all. So that really excited me, and the fact that we had a Grayboe long action stock that needed to be tested caused me to go ahead and jump and pull the trigger on this guy. And now the benefit to you guys is that since I have the complete rifle sitting here, it would be absolutely remiss of me not to do a review of the actual rifle as it comes out of the box. The quality on the rifle looks to be fairly decent quality for Remington. In the past few years, it appeared to me that Remington quality has slipped a little bit. But looking at this rifle, I can see the barrel channel is even down through it. The action feels nice. The trigger, it does have an X-Mark trigger in here, is fairly heavy, and this is actually the X-Mark Pro trigger, so it does have the adjustment screw in it. So we'll see how light we can get the trigger without actually having to pull it out and mess with it. But we have a variety of triggers that we can drop in here when we start changing components on the rifle to get rid of that X mark. Bell & Carlson stocks, I've been pretty impressed with Bell & Carlson stocks for quite some time now. They do have the grip to tip skeleton system in here, so it's reinforced. It does have an aluminum bedding block in it. I'm assuming that this M40 does. We'll be able to tell that when we pull the action out, when we actually do the full review. But overall, great quality. We've got a nice squishy recoil pad on here, which should help with the recoil of an unbraked 308. And it does come with a 26-inch 1 in 10 twist barrel, so it's going to favor the heavier bullets. The ammunition that we have from Black Hills has 190 grain Sierra Match King in it. And once we get done shooting that up and we have some brass, then we're going to go ahead and load up some of the new Hornady 208 ELDs. And we've got some H1000 powder here to give that a try. So what I'm hoping to do with this is we'll do the review on the rifle itself first. I don't know what optic I'm going to put on here yet. That we still have to figure out. We're going to drop a Tally scope base on here. Tally was nice enough to send us out some scope bases and rings a while back, so we're going to put the Tally tactical scope base on here, and then we'll get the basic accuracy test and the basic review of the rifle done. Then I'm going to try to go into a little bit of a series on how I go about working up a load for a brand new rifle that I've never done any reloading for before. This will actually be the first time that I have reloaded for 300 Win Mag or any belted Magnum case. So it's going to kind of be interesting to see how we go about that and how we work up the load for this. I also, a couple of you guys have discussed with me your methods of load development, and we're going to try a little bit of a different method of load development with this rifle and see how it works out. Since 300 Win Mag has got a good bit more recoil than a 260, a 6.5, or even a 308, then trying to keep the load work up to a minimum is important. Additionally, 300 Win Mags do not have a huge amount of barrel life, so we don't want to spend a lot of time burning rounds through it before we settle on an accurate load. So that's kind of what is on the horizon for this rifle here. If you guys have any questions about the 700 long range, please leave them in the comments section below and we will be more than happy to get to them. Additionally, if you have a 700 long range, I'd love to hear how it's been working for you, so please leave those comments down below. If you guys have questions or comments that you would like answered on the next Mail Call Mondays, leave them in the comments section below and we will check that next week and get to answering those questions. If you have questions or comments about anything that we've done, you can leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. And that's about it for this Mail Call Mondays. If you like the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, get out and shoot.